Ladies and gentlemen,
What you gonna do, brother?
oh yeah!
Woo! What? What?
If you smell what the rock,
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Turnbuckle. My name's the Big Alboski. His name right there is Professor Keith, and we are joined today by the one and the only Merrick Miami. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? Thanks for having me.
We are excited. We are excited to have you, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about where you started, where this all began, this journey for you, and we're going to let the fans, if you guys are watching, you guys can ask them anything you want. Keep it clean. I will not let any nonsense through there. But before we get started, guys, I have to say this, that when it comes to natural relief, turn to Dr. Brown's CBD. Dr. Brown's CBD uses the latest scientific knowledge and experienced professionals to create top-of-the-line CBD products at affordable prices. Visit momandpopcbdshop.com right there at the bottom of your screen. They have 5 locations: Easton, Wind Gap, Bechtelsville, Hackettstown, and Washington, New Jersey. And if you go to the Easton Forks Township one, mention this ad that you just heard, and my boy Brett Brown will hook you up with 15% off. Each of those places, by the way, have free CBD samples. So if you have any pain needs, go see them. It's good stuff. I've tried it. I'm going to send some to Keith. He's going to try it. It's good stuff. With the bills paid, welcome, Merrick Miami.
Here I am. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. So once upon a time, Merrick Miami was a fan of wrestling, right? You were a kid, and at some point you fell in love with this business, as did I, as did Keith. Can you tell us about that moment?
Oh, man. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one. I already know. This is one of my favorite stories to tell, and people are just mind-boggled. So I was actually, I guess it would have been, I want to say early 2004, because my first live event was a house show. Was late 2004. I want to say it was in August of 2004, right before SummerSlam. It was a couple weeks before SummerSlam that year. But I was flipping through the channels one night, had no idea what professional wrestling was, and Monday Night Raw came on, and this is where it gets funny, and people are gonna get mad. Christian was on his way to the ring, and anybody that knows me personally, I absolutely hate Christian. Can't stand him. Don't like the guy. I just can't.
If you ever get FaceTime with Vince McMahon, bring that up. He hates him too.
Right. But anyway, so it was Christian versus Rhino. Actually, I think it was a handicap match. I think it was Christian and Tyson Tonko versus Rhino. I want to say Christian had the IC title,
the ECW, or the Intercontinental title.
The Intercontinental.
Yeah, it would probably be IC then, 2004.
I want to say it was. I vaguely remember, but I strictly remember, Tyson Tonko, Christian, and Rhino. And it was a quick bout. Pretty sure Rhino won. And then I was just kind of like, oh, that's cool, like whatever. Didn't think anything of it. And then I think the following week, I was flipping through the channels again, and wrestling was on again. I don't remember anything from that show. But then I just remember week after week, I started to tune in. And then for, I guess, a couple months, I watched it here and there, not every week. And then one night my great-grandfather came to me and said, guess where we're going on Sunday night? And I said, where? The wrestling matches. And I was like, the wrestling matches? He's like, yeah, like you watch on TV. And I just remember being ballistic. Like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool. And I remember getting there, and I got my first WWE program when they were $15.
Right.
15. And now they're what, 25, almost $30.
$30.
I I still have it. You know, it's missing a couple pages, but I still have it. I refuse to let anything happen to that program. Uh, Obviously, I can't help if something ever does, but I try my best to keep that thing, you know, by my side. Um, but I remember, you know, going inside, you know, going to the seats, and I remember being so mad that there wasn't a stage because at that point I was my first show, so I had no idea what the difference was between, you know, a live broadcast event and a house show.
Right.
Um, and because I remember seeing um, the video package for, I guess it was, I can't remember who Eddie Guerrero was supposed to wrestle that SummerSlam. Uh, I want to say it was Ray, or maybe that was the following year. I think Ray was the following year,
Okay.
2005. Um, but anyway, so you know, I remember seeing that, and I'm like, okay, well, this is the match I want to see. And then the opening match was Thugonomics John Cena, which is anybody knows me, Thugonomics Cena will forever be my favorite John Cena era.
As it is my son. Well,
Yeah.
Like such a good gimmick, like so good, and he was like the perfect fit for it.
right.
But it was Thugonomics Cena versus Kurt Angle. Soon as the bell rang, Cena went to go do something, and Kurt Angle hit him with a roll up 1, 2, 3, and I was like, what? But you know, they do the whole restart the match stuff, you know. And then you know, I got to see all the, you know, my favorites as a kid. You know, Eddie was on that show. I can't remember who he wrestled, but I got to see Cena, Angle, Eddie. You know, it was the Cabinet versus the under, or not the Cabinet. It was the Dudley Boys and JBL versus the Undertaker.
Nice.
And you know, I just remember being captivated. And one of the other things too, like I'm not much of a fan of him anymore, but when I was younger, Rob Van Dam was like the guy for me.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, he come out and do the, you know, Rob Van Dam.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with my uncle and my great grandfather, you know, and they were sitting there, one on either side of me, and down at my waist, you know, I got the thumbs up going Rob Van Dam. And my great grandpa leans over to me, excuse me, and says, you can stand up and do that if you want to. You know, and I was so shy, and I shot right up, and you know, was getting, oh man, dude, it was such a good memory. And it's funny that we started off with this because I actually found the tickets to that show
Nice.
about
Wow.
a month or so ago. My great grandfather kept every single ticket that we ever went to together. Kept every single one. So I actually found that, and then the second show that I went to was later. I think it was in July 2005, when Randy Orton got drafted to SmackDown for the first time
Right.
and attacked Taker in the main event. And I remember opening that show as you know, hope the critics don't come to get me. Chris Benoit opened, you know, that show with JBL and the Cabinet, and I just remember the lights going off and the gong,
Yeah.
and I don't care who you are, like you don't have to like Undertaker. And I say it to my girlfriend all the time, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. But when you're live, to me anyway, and you hear that gong,
Oh
and the
my
lights
God.
go out, no matter how old, like I get goosebumps
Yes.
just talking about it.
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
and I just remember as a kid just being like, wow, like this is really something. Even though I still didn't have, you know, an idea of like what it was all about. Like I knew it was wrestling, you know, I was like, but you know, I didn't realize that it was a show yet. You know, like I thought, you know, these guys are really in there, you know, beating the hell out of each other.
Right.
And we do. I can't say that we don't, because we do.
Oh,
You
I
know,
know.
I've been hurt a couple times, but you know, thinking back then to those days, like I started watching from when I started watching on the network. I started watching episodes of SmackDown on the network from back when I first started watching, and it's just so many memories.
Mm-hmm.
But yep, Tyson Tonko and Christian and Rhino were the first three guys that I saw perform.
Well, if you're gonna pick somebody to mention on this show, man, the Undertaker is definitely one to because Keith is a huge Undertaker fan, as am I. But Keith, you can see if you can see behind Keith there, the Undertaker's face is right there behind him. With
Oh, that's awesome.
so, you know, but yeah, Taker. His career will never be duplicated. You talk 30 years in the business, man. So I mean, yeah, I was was Keith to be in a building where that bong went off and that the lights went out and it felt like it got colder in the building. Like some buildings would turn the you know you know it was coming because all of a sudden it got like 10 degrees cooler in there and
right.
But
I love that aspect of the Undertaker that they went above and beyond to create that full experience for fans. And you know, I remember I was at WrestleMania 34, and you know, when Cena was calling out Taker, and it's crazy because you knew, like, you just knew that they weren't gonna have Cena call out Taker and Taker no.
Right.
Yeah.
And even when the gong hit, when you already knew it was coming anyway, like, people can get on my Facebook page and I have a video on there and I lose my mind. I absolutely lose my mind.
Yeah, and it's amazing. It's great. I was at Keith and I both were at WrestleMania 29, but we weren't sitting together. He was on the other side of the stadium at MetLife Stadium.
That's awesome. That was
I was sitting behind the stage. And so we're freezing our butts off at the top. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when the Undertaker came out, my mom was with me, my son was with me, right? And my mom goes, "Oh my God, I love the Undertaker right now because the pyro kept us."
Yeah. That was my first WrestleMania that I was ever at. I was there with my old tag partner, and we were, I was either sophomore. No, I would have been. I guess I was a junior. No, I would have been a sophomore, something like that. But that Mania, I like. It's my first. It was my first Mania, so I say I love it.
Yeah.
But that Mania was god awful. In my
There
opinion.
wasn't a lot. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to learn from that show. I mean, when you started a show with Chris Jericho having a bad match with somebody, I turned to my friend that I went with at the time, and I'm like, Fandango's career is over. He just had a bad match with Chris Jericho. Nobody has a bad match with Chris Jericho.
Right. And but it's funny you mentioned Taker's entrance because that is my favorite Undertaker WrestleMania entrance.
Sure.
The fog and the smoke and the hands with the morph suits reaching up.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The visual of that was even live. Like a lot of people, for the people that weren't there, like you still get the effect through video of what it looked like, but there, like you could still see just silhouettes. It's not like you saw actual like physical beings.
It was creepy.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. I mean, all the special entrances that year were good, like Punk with Living Color, even Fandango's with the giant thing of him. That was kind of cool. It was different. The match that shocked me the most was the opener though with the Shield and Big Show, Sheamus and Randy.
Right.
Yeah.
That match was. I feel like that match was ahead of its time because the Shield was like not new, but they were young as a team together at that point. But I love that match. But that Mania obviously is my first Mania, so I'll always love that Mania, but there's definitely been better.
Yeah. I mean, the Taker Punk match was great. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff on that show that was either terrible or you knew that night, like, I ain't gonna remember this in probably a month.
Right.
I'm not gonna remember this in a month. And that's the terrible part too, because it's WrestleMania. And WrestleMania is usually, that time capsule of like, this is everything that was going on at the time, and this was the showpiece of kind of where the company was at. And yeah, that one really wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy the Ryback Mark Henry feud.
No.
No.
That was just god awful. The Rock Cena was cool. I enjoyed seeing The Rock at WrestleMania. That's
Yeah.
that's what I got out of that match. Other than that, I was just kind of like, well, we know Cena's gonna win,
Right.
Yeah.
which is great because if you fast forward to 34 with Roman and Lesnar,
Yeah.
everybody thought, oh well, Lesnar's leaving, so Roman's gonna win.
Right.
And then when Lesnar retained, I was like, this is fantastic.
All
Like
right,
I enjoy that swerve.
all right. So there's your passion for wrestling, right? When did you say I want to do this, and when did that journey start?
Oof. I have no idea, honestly.
Well, you do know how many years ago it was.
Yeah, too many. Not too many, but I mean, I'm
No, you're right hitting your peak 5-year mark. You're not a rookie anymore. You're
yeah.
there.
I guess I said back when I guess back in 2004, 2005 when I started like, oh, this is what I want to do, and I mean, I was a kid. The kids just say stuff,
Say that.
every other month you want to be a dentist, or now you want to be an astronaut, or a zookeeper, whatever. But I guess I was kind of consistent. I really love sharks. Like I'm sure you can tell, I got the shark blanket behind me.
Yeah.
But I'm really into sharks, and I was ever since I was little as well. So like I always kind of wanted to be like a marine biologist. So I went between being a marine biologist, but I want to be a pro wrestler. But then again, I want to be a marine biologist. But if I'm a pro wrestler, so I guess
Jim can be a marine biologist.
right. So I guess I really didn't like decide like 100% until I guess I want to say it was probably like 7th, maybe 8th grade. I said that that's what I wanted to be, and for years, I was, told like, oh, you're too small, you got to get bigger, you know, um, like I don't already know that.
Right.
But now guys, my size are on Raw every Monday,
Right.
every
Yeah.
Friday night on SmackDown. But so I guess it wasn't till I want to say 7th grade was kind of the turning point. I made a friend that had a mutual liking to wrestling, and we kind of hit it off that way. And then yeah, I guess it wouldn't have been about till 8th grade. I had my homeroom teacher, social studies teacher, Mr. Bennett. He was a huge wrestling fan. So the first day of 8th grade, I think I wore a Zack Ryder shirt. And people that know me, Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, that's my guy. Like I will go anywhere that he goes. Like people look up to Ric Flair, look up to Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold. I look up to him. A lot of people are like, whatever, but
There's nothing wrong with that.
You like who you like. So anyway,
I give the guy a ton of credit because there's a guy that went out there and they basically challenged him and said, "Hey, go find yourself and make yourself a star." And he went out there and he made himself a star. He did that all on his own.
And honestly, now him and Kurt Hawkins, I feel like they're too big of stars for what WWE would have wanted them to be right now anyway. So in a way, I think it's good that they kind of got released when they did.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I guess 8th grade was when I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Me and my buddy were like, oh, when we become wrestlers and stuff, like Mr. Bennett, you can be our manager. Like it was just kind of a running gag. But to this day, like we're friends on Facebook and stuff, and we'll still talk about like, hey, my friend, he that I was friends with then, he's not a wrestler. He helps his dad, with his they race horses, like horse racing and stuff. So he does that, but we stay in touch every now and then. But every now and then, we'll get a group chat together and be like, all right, so, I'm like, when are you going to So I 8th grade would be, when I was for sure like this is what I want to do. And then, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, I was, backyard wrestling. I'm not ashamed to say it. We've all done it. If you haven't, you say you haven't. Why are you trying to hide it? Somebody will find it.
I can admit that I sort of did in a way, but I mean, not to the extent of actually like, doing it in a ring or a ring that we built. I mean, we had a group of kids in the neighborhood that would get together and basically have what amounts to a Pier 6 brawl in my backyard. Last man standing kind of thing.
Right. So yeah. So then, I guess it would have been my junior year, I guess. Me and my, friends, that we wrestled in the backyard with, we kept telling my grandpa, like, oh, like, we wish we had a ring, we wish we had a ring. And he actually built us a ring. He took our trampoline and put, I don't even know how many ratchet straps across it, so it wouldn't bounce. Like he had a little give, but it wasn't anything crazy. Cemented posts in the ground. It was a 6-sided ring, ropes, turnbuckles, everything. And he bought us this life-size brown bear, like the biggest ridiculous thing you could ever imagine. And I mean, we're what, I was 16, I guess, so 16, 17, 16 to 18, and we're in my grandpa's backyard on this ring, suplexing this big stuffed animal and stuff, because he hated when we did anything, like if he caught us wrestling, he would, chew us out, like, you're gonna get hurt. But even with that too, that even drove me even more, like, okay, like, maybe, once I turn 18, let me train. Let me find somewhere to train so I can do what I want to do and, bring my chances down a little bit of getting hurt. And then it became, I guess, middle of my senior year, and we had to go through like all these like career choice classes and stuff like that. And, they're trying to tell me like, oh, well, what do you want to do? Like, I want to be a pro wrestler. And the one lady that was there in the counselor's office, like we all got called individually to talk about stuff. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a professional wrestler. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I want to be a WWE superstar one day.
There you go.
And she was like, I kid you not, she grabs her notebook like this, puts it on the table, folds her hands over top and says, that sounds great and all, but let's be a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
And I didn't say 2 words to her. I got up and walked out. And then I got called to the principal's office, and I was like, no. She asked me what I wanted to be. I told her, and she said, be more realistic. So there's nothing more for me to say. So that was that. Then I was like, okay, this is definitely, at that point, I was already here with it. I was like, this is what I do. But after that incident, I was like, all right, nothing's going to stop me now. So yeah, so that led up to training. I graduated in June of 2015, which I'm a baby.
Right. Well, where did you start training at? Where did you go?
So I started training with SWO, the Susquehanna Wrestling Organization, with the Wolfman. And at the time, Evan Atlas, and still currently Wolfman and Ken Andrews. And it was about a lot of us that, we backyard wrestled together, the Wolfman gave us a shot. You know what I mean? Yeah, we were backyard wrestlers and stuff, but like he saw that, we were hungry. This is what we wanted. So, he gave us a big opportunity. And there was, I don't know, 6 or 7 of us, maybe, that started to go to training. I missed the first couple of sessions because I had some health issues, but once I got to training and stuff, I was like, the first night I was blown beyond belief. Like, oh my gosh, we did like an hour and a half of just working out before we even got in the ring, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, this is crazy. But once you get in that ring, man, and any wrestler will tell you, once you get in that ring and you get to start to doing stuff, none of that other stuff matters. You're like, okay, I know what I got to do to get to where I want to be, so let's do it. And once we started, going to training every week, be 2 or 3 weeks in, one of the guys would be like, it's not for me, or it's whatever. Okay, cool, keep on going. Another couple weeks go by, another one,
Right.
I really can't. My job this, my job that. And I'm not saying that it's an excuse, because what we were told is real life comes first.
Right.
So I can't judge them for putting their real life first. You just can't. I mean, some
Yeah,
people.
I think,
Go ahead.
I don't interrupt you. I think any good trainer is going to tell you that. Is going to say, look, I'll teach you how to do this, but you got to understand the odds of you getting to a place where this is your career, this is your living, are incredibly low. You've
Oh,
got to have a
absolutely.
fallback plan. You've got to have something where, because I mean, you're one bad fall away from it could all be taken away from you. And then what are you going to do? I went up for this backdrop and I came down wrong and I screwed up my leg and now I can never wrestle again. What am I going to do? I think any good
Right.
trainer is going to tell you, hey, I'll teach you wrestling, but have a plan beyond wrestling just in case.
Right. And to go along with that too, like during training, we had, I guess my debut match was July 25th of 2015. It was in a battle royal that I won. Um, and that night to me will forever be in my top 3 moments, like best moments of my life. I said from a little kid, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. And then to go out there in my debut match, even though it was a battle royal, and win
Yeah, you won.
was insane.
Thanks. How many
Like I
guys?
had both of my grandparents there, which, you know, they have a tough way of showing love. So, they really don't like me doing it because, they don't want to see me get hurt, which I
Right.
understand. My mother was there. My girlfriend at the time was there. So that to me, like life was good. You know what I mean? I just did something that, you know, this is what I've waited my whole life for.
Yep.
Um, so then it was a couple weeks after that at training, like you said, you one wrong thing and you can get hurt. One of the other trainees with me, took a headlock takeover and snapped his ankle.
Oh,
You know what I mean? It was just a quick, whatever. And, he didn't think anything of it. He just like, thought he, landed on it wrong or whatever. But he didn't realize for like another hour until his ankle started to swell and he couldn't move it. He was like, ah, shit, maybe I should, go get this looked
yeah.
at. But yeah, SWO to me, that's home. That's home. Training home. I could go train, anywhere else. And I'd like to, you know what I mean? You never stop learning.
Right.
But SWO, that's where I was trained. That's where I was born as a performer, I guess. But yeah, that's home.
So then eventually you started to do some matches elsewhere besides SWO, right?
Yeah, so SWO, some of their talent came up to organization called Triple WA, the Worldwide Wrestling Alliance.
Right.
So they said, for us trainees, like, hey, why don't you guys, come along with us? We can't guarantee you're going to get a spot on the card, but we'll put in a word. If you get on
There's a
there,
guy checking in saying hi.
yeah, hey, what's up, JT? But we went. It was a couple of us, 3 or 4 of us, I think we went. We helped set up the ring and stuff like that.
Right.
And it was probably less than an hour till bell time, and the promoter came up and said, hey, like, I could really use some extra guys. Did you guys bring your gear and stuff like that? Yeah, like, yeah, of course
Always
we did.
bring your gear.
Always bring your gear. Yep.
Always.
You never know.
And I ended up having a singles match, my first singles match at a different promotion, and I won't mention who it was against, but it was god awful. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely awful. I still look back at it, and every now and then I'll watch it, and I just cringe. Like it was awful. Like I'm not saying that I'm good, because I don't give myself enough credit. I feel of my in ring work, but oh my gosh, back then I watched that match, and I'm like, that's a backyard wrestler,
Right.
and I was like, I'm better than that. And after that match, I got mad. Like I was at like training and stuff. I was mad. Like we would have breaks, 10, 15-minute breaks. People would go outside, get a breather, have some water, and I would just stay in the ring and just, roll and roll and roll, run the ropes, roll, bump. I was so frustrated because I was like, after watching that match back, I was like, what am I doing? Like this isn't what I want to be. This isn't what I want to present. But yeah, that match was god awful. And then I was probably working SWO and Triple WA, back and forth on a month-to-month basis, for about maybe a year and a half. And then I got an opportunity at Valor Pro Wrestling.
Right.
And then another opportunity at Atomic Championship Wrestling.
Okay.
So those four, are pretty much where I've been. I'd love to venture out. I really planned on getting out, this past year, but
COVID.
the pandemic happened, and that kind of put a damper on things. But
And a lot of guys are having that problem, man. And you just got to just stick with it, and you just got to just keep yourself with a good mindset, keep yourself in shape, and things will start to happen. Once this vaccine gets out there and people, they actually start having live events with crowds. I'm looking forward to that because I miss that. I miss going to events. I miss watching it with actual fans.
Right.
All the wrestlers, any wrestler that we've talked to over the past few months, that's the first thing that they say. They miss the fans. They miss.
I'm sure any wrestler will tell you too. You can go out there. Oh, thank you so much.
He's responsible for all the JT Funk merchandise designs. He did mention he's a graphic designer.
Yeah, and talking about that fallback plan, I mean, you've got that. If it,
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna make $1 million, you're gonna be fine. All that.
Right.
I'm just saying that's nice to have that avenue there too, where you can give something back even beyond just being in the ring. Like, hey, I can design people's gear, I can help design merch. You could have a little business doing that if you wanted.
And that's really helped me too. Over the from, I guess it was March till now. I mean I was off of work for 3.5 months, so I really didn't have the normal income that I usually have, and I didn't have the usual merch income coming in. So my design work was kind of like, okay, well I have this, so I can make a little bit more than my merch money, but not quite as much as my normal income, which was totally fine with me. I had something.
Yeah.
And
I got to be honest, I have no idea where we were. I don't remember.
Oh no, well we were at the point where you were talking about how the COVID has affected the business, and that you now are in limbo, like a lot of guys are, and you have to.
Yeah.
You have to just keep your focus and keep your motivation, and just keep, where you go from here is totally up to you.
Right. And now that you refresh me, thank you. I do remember what I was going to say. I think any wrestler will tell you, we can go in a ring and we can put on, a 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe even 30, on some people minute match with no fans and still be excited.
Sure.
And we can have it at this level, but those fans, slowly bring that up. And I can't tell you how many times, there's been, and all of us wrestlers have had it. You go out there for a match, you're excited, but you're kind of like, the crowd was kind of, whatever.
Right.
And there's going to be that one move or that one sequence that those fans are going to be like, oh shit, we're enjoying this. And man, without that, it's difficult. I'm not gonna lie.
Mhm.
But having that there, to get you through that, especially if you're not going out there, like I'm sure a lot of guys will sit here and say, oh, give it your all, please do, I like to, but there's gonna be, there's some times where you're kind of like, yeah, you're excited for this, but it happens with everything. With everything, you could have the best job in the world, and go to work. Like look at some of these guys in WWE. In my opinion, they have the best job in the world because they're living, my dream, their dream, and they're not happy. So,
And well, is WWE the end all be all for you, or would you consider AEW? Would you consider Ring of Honor?
I've been asked this question, before by a lot of my peers,
Mhm.
And honestly, I really couldn't tell you. I
Mhm.
really couldn't. For the longest time, it was WWE, WWE,
Us.
WWE, and then Ring of Honor, was kind of on my radar, like, oh, it'd be cool. Um, Now, I mean, it would be an amazing opportunity. I'm not going to say
Sure.
no.
Mhm.
AEW, I'd really, I feel like that would be a really good platform for me right now.
Sure.
Because I know that I'm nowhere near WWE level. I'm not going to sit here and try to persuade anybody that I think I am because I know I'm not. If the opportunity came about, it would be the most wonderful thing in the world.
Sure.
But I feel like AEW is AEW is giving talent more recognition, I guess is the word I'm looking for. An opportunity than WWE right now.
Well, on their
And
Dark show, right? They have a
Right.
show called Dark,
right.
where
But
they
no,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, well, 'cause where they showcase talent.
Right. But I totally understand. I don't want I don't everybody talks shit on WWE or AEW or Impact or whatever. Watch it all. It's wrestling. It's what made us fall in love with this industry.
Yeah.
Obviously you're gonna have better talent on one, company or whatever. And I get why WWE can't, promote, new talent the way that, AEW can because WWE is a spectacle. It's showman, it's entertainment, and
Yeah.
AEW is wrestling.
Right.
Um,
At least they're trying to be.
right, trying to be. Um, but I don't know. I mean, like I said, if the opportunity comes, around for either one, hell, even if it was Impact Wrestling, you know what
Yeah.
I mean, or Major League Wrestling, I really follow Major League Wrestling too. I really like what they're doing. Um, any of them, I'd be knocking down the door for opportunity.
So go ahead, Keith.
So I mean, while we're on the subject of the bigger wrestling companies, we were talking about on before the show, that obviously you're in a little bit of a transition. You've been wrestling under one name for 5 years there, and now you're under the new name Merrick Miami. And we were talking about, the nervousness that's got to come with that because, we talked about like a Steve Austin or The Rock or somebody like that, where they had this
Right.
big platform every time they changed their name or their gimmick and they wanted to get the new character over or whatever. They had this huge platform to hammer away at the audience for weeks and months and whatever. And eventually, you kind of wipe away what the old character was, where in your case, you don't necessarily have that exposure, and the pandemic's making it harder because now you
Right.
don't have as many places to go get booked and get people familiar and whatnot. But I think from what you were saying, you had gotten to the place with the old name that you were like, this isn't me anymore. This isn't what I want to do.
Right.
So, I mean, do you feel like that kind of trumps everything then? It's like, I've got to go do my truth and I'll get to that next level. I'll just figure it out. I'll build this brand and go from
Yeah,
there.
I think, it was, and like we discussed before, it was a difficult decision. And I honestly, within, what are we in January already? The past
Yeah.
2 months, I've been back and forth. Is this what I really wanted to do? Like, should I do this? Should I not do this? And I bounced it off a couple, I bounced it off a trainer, a promoter, a couple peers of mine. And I was like, if there's any time that I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be now.
Right.
Because we have this whole stretch of, at this point, we're 2 months away from being a year already into this pandemic stuff. And we really couldn't get out to do shows much.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? What a better time. There's gonna be that long stretch of where you're not gonna see me as this old name. And, I thought, it's going to be difficult, but maybe if I do this now, it's going to make it easier in the long run. So when I come back and people see me as Merrick Miami, for the first time, it's going to be like, okay, like new look, new gimmick, new name, new work ethic. Like this kid's, down to business. And I felt Merrick Miami was more of the name of a pursuing star. If that makes sense. I'm not sure if that sounded right. But with the old name, like I told you guys, it just, I don't know. I felt like it was time. It was 5 years in the making, and I was like, you know what? Like I'm not gonna get stuck with this old stuff, just kind of being, whatever. I'm going to come up with something new. I'm going to incorporate more of me. So, the fans get more of me, like personally, my personal attributes and stuff like that. So, it's been difficult. It's going to be difficult. But I think that it's what, needed to happen for the time being.
If people want to book Merrick Miami, how do they do that?
Well, you can, first and foremost, you can find me on Facebook at Merrick Miami. Also on Instagram at Merrick Miami. YouTube is Merrick Miami Pro. Obviously, I really don't have any Merrick Miami stuff on there, but some of my old stuff is on there. And Twitter is Merrick Miami Pro. I believe, maybe now you're gonna have me look just so I can clarify. No, so it's just Merrick Miami as well on there. And so you can find me on there, direct message me, or you can email book merrickmiami@gmail.com. I have always my phone on me, always, all times. Rarely a time that I don't. So if you do want to reach out, please do. I'd be more than happy to talk with you, send you resume, send you footage, anything that you ask for.
And I'll tell you what, I already have your flyer on the Around the Turnbuckle and the 2M1L Media page, but your Facebook, your Instagram, and your YouTube, I will post those links on our page. If anybody's watching this and didn't write that down, what he just said, check out the 2M1L Media page after the show. Check out the Around the Turnbuckle page after the show. And we'll have all the links to getting a hold of Mr. Miami if you want to book him in 2021. Whatever we can do, man, because I tell you what, it is a rough time. It's a rough time for wrestlers. We feel for everybody trying to do this, but man, kudos to you for having the balls to basically start over. I mean, yes, you have the talent. Yes, you have the talent. You have the know-how. you have the in-ring experience, but to start afresh with a whole new character during this time is guts. And so I got to give you that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say I wasn't scared to death about doing it, but you know what? I mean, if I believe it, I'll do it. If I do it, I'll see it. So.
And if you believe it, the audience will believe it.
Big Joe chimes in. AEW has amazing talent. WWE is painful to watch. A full show to me personally, but I still watch anyway. I still watch both.
Well, that's good.
There's a lot of people that feel that way right now.
That's the thing. And yeah, the WWE right now is kind of, I wouldn't say painful to watch, but it's watered down to the point where it drives me insane, right? I just want to see a good match. I want to see a good story in the ring. All right.
Well, and I think too, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's all right.
I think too, another thing of it that I feel like people have to take into account too is WWE doesn't, isn't exempt from the pandemic.
Right.
Obviously, they're doing all that they can to have as much talent there as possible. But at the same time, I feel like their mindset is, okay, well, we know the superstars that people, want to see. And I think people think it's getting boring because we see the same people week in and week out for the past 8 months.
Right.
But then at the same time, you got to realize, okay, well, they want the viewership and, they want the merch sales. But in order for that to happen in a pandemic, you can't, be switching out, back and forth different talent that people don't want to see. And I mean, everybody's different. Some of the people on there I don't want to see, and some of the people that are on there you guys might not want to see.
Well, I mean, they cut the roster in half because they had to money-wise. Right. And then on top of that, they've had a couple of small minor outbreaks of the virus that they have to deal with. So it's been rough for them. It's been rough for AEW as well. They've had their issues as well. Right. But I mean, I still watch. I don't religiously watch Raw or SmackDown every week, but I do keep tabs of what's going on, and especially in NXT and AEW. And then I'm excited about the Rumble just because it's the Rumble. I always that's absolutely. The Royal Rumble is my favorite. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I love the Rumble. I was fortunate enough to be at the Rumble this past year when Edge returned.
Oh, it was so good.
Oh man, and such a moment.
It's so quick little tangent about that while we're talking about the Rumble. So there was a young gentleman. He was 15. He was soon going to turn 16. He was behind me in line, so I was talking with him and his mother. Yeah. And I hate to say, like, I hate to push on people. Oh, I'm a pro wrestler. Like I don't like to do that because they're looking at me like, okay, so what? You know what I mean? But I said, hey, I do this, but I have, some connections that, because he wanted to be a pro wrestler. And I said, okay, well, if you don't mind asking me, where do you live? And they said, and I gave them some, information on, how I trained and, how the process worked basically. And I told him, give me a follow on Instagram after the show. Shoot me a message sometime, whenever you get home. And, I'll help you try to, find a school near you and stuff like that. So he did. But while we were having that conversation, they had just opened the gates to get into the stadium. And we were going back and forth about, what are some of the Rumble surprises going to be? Yeah. And we already knew one of them was MVP because of the leaked photo.
Right.
And we already said, Victoria, because I think Victoria was supposed to be one of them, but that got leaked and they scrapped that. And I told him, I was like, I've never had a feeling like this before, a show before. I think something ridiculous is about to happen. And I remembered, every months before people were tweeting at Edge like, oh, Rumble. And he's like, no, I'm not doing it. Yeah. And I always took Edge as a man of his word.
My bastard got me. I kept telling him and all of our other friends, I'm like, Edge said he's not doing it. I believe Edge. And, his neck was screwed up and he stayed away this long. And he had all the acting stuff. Why is he going to come back? Why is he going to do it? And then,
Right.
Yeah.
And that countdown to the buzzer, and the buzzer hit, and you think you know me.
That place.
Oh my gosh, like I can still hear it in my ears. Like that place went absolutely berserk, and I will never forget that. Such a good film mode.
We had goosebumps, man. We had goosebumps.
Yeah.
Keith was at my house with my son, and our drawers were on the floor. It was
there were I was one of them, but there were grown men crying, and I mean crying, like buckets of tears, like
just happy to see him. Just happy to see him again.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, but his story is amazing too. Like if you've ever seen the documentaries on him.
Oh yeah.
He went from a fan, right, at WrestleMania 6 with Hogan and the Warrior.
Yeah.
And he went from that to what he became. I mean, he lived out his dream to the fullest and was champion, and
then taken away, and then he just as he comes to peace with it, they're like, "Oh, hey, you could
hell yeah, JT
do it." Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a huge feel good moment, and I'm glad that I hate watching like live wrestling shows, and people are sitting there like scrolling through Twitter and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I had nobody like that around me, because after the fact in my hotel room, I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw that Beth Phoenix had posted on Twitter and tagged Edge and said like, "Hey honey, like we're out tonight, like we have somebody to watch the kids. What do you say?"
Oh.
And if I would have seen that on Twitter, or somebody would have seen that around me, it would have ruined the whole thing for me.
Yeah.
I hate that, man.
I would have had the suspicion right away. Okay, well, he's coming out.
I love being surprised, right? And that's the thing about the Rumble. They always get you one way, at least once, right? At least one time. You might have a guy come out that you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool, right?
Right.
But at least once, whether it be during the female match or during the male match, at least once they get you like, oh, wow, this is awesome, right? And that's what I love most about the Rumble.
Right, because the previous year, before last year's, they had some of the NXT guys, and I was like, okay, well, what's the surprise? And then R-Truth came out 30 and Nia Jax attacked him. Like that's like some people were mad, but I'm like, no, that's great. Like, but no, the Rumble's up there for sure. I'm definitely up there with you on that.
Edge's return at 2020 has now become like one of, if not the best Royal Rumble surprises ever, because of the fact that how, like you said, none of us thought he was ever get back in the ring again. That was the bigger thing, right?
Yeah, that was one of the truly like last great stories before 2020 just revealed itself and revealed that it was basically the year that was just going to try to kill us all.
Drew eliminating Brock last year was a big,
oh my gosh, yes.
The only thing,
a lot of people don't know this unless they were there. They edited that crowd sound on the network. If you watch it back, if anybody was live for that, I don't know if any of you guys were there.
I was.
When Drew eliminated Brock, it actually got a bigger pop than when Edge's music hit. And when I watched it back on the network, they definitely 110%.
They toned it down.
Oh, yeah.
110%. But that Rumble match, even the women's, was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we all knew Brock was going to get in there and just toss everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
And they built that so perfectly. Just the way that they had Edge come to the final three, everybody was happy to Edge, and have Roman eliminate Edge just to get them to be like, oh, this son of a gun. And then, oh, dude,
it was a well done Rumble.
Simpler time.
And it was
simpler time.
And it was the first one in a long time that was not only well done, but well planned out as far as the ending goes and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it was well done.
And there were so many different storylines within that Rumble too. That was like I like Rumbles, but sometimes like, and you guys can attest to it probably.
Sure.
You know, you watch a Rumble sometimes and you're like, okay, well, none of these guys have anything to do with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I can't remember what year it was. Maybe it was 2018, I believe, when Ray returned, and they just had the normal Raw stage for the entrance. And the year that Hurricane got in there with John Cena.
Yes.
I think whatever year that was, or maybe it was the year before that, when they did the whole they did the Brock Lesnar, Goldberg, and Undertaker. And Braun Strowman, I think, was in there too. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, those four have connections to each other, but was this whole Rumble built around their two storylines?
Right.
But the 2020 Rumble was all the story, like even the Divas, you know, Rumble, like the Women's Rumble, that had storyline galore. Like everybody that had a storyline did something in it, and it was, I don't know, something that they definitely. I felt like they definitely listened to fans. They gave fans a show that I feel like we so rightfully deserved. I think we kind of I don't want to sound selfish, but excuse me. I feel like we suffered for a long stretch of time before that Rumble. I felt like booking was just kind of repetitive, and even after that, I mean, we got back to repetitive. Like the Seth Rollins storyline is, you know, the Monday Night Messiah, like, oh God, I enjoyed it, but at the same time, it was just like I can't do this every week.
Well, so listen, we're winding this down, but let JT Funk's chiming in. I think that Royal Rumble in 2017 was to create those moments with Goldberg and Taker stare down.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it was to get the Saudi Arabia show over and whatnot. I think I said that at the time, that it very much felt like they were almost looking past it because they wanted that Saudi Arabia show to be so good because they were getting that great Saudi money until, you know, they're not so much getting that great Saudi money anymore.
The first female one to me stands out because they had like probably like a dozen legends come in. Like they had Molly Holly and Trish Stratus and Lita, and so I mean the pops that they got when each one of them came down, and then the moment at the end with Becky Lynch, deserving to win the first ever Women's Royal Rumble, that was pretty damn cool too. That one stands out to me as far as the women's ones go.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the women, they've definitely they saw their opportunity that they were given, and they ran like hell with it. Like a lot, like I'll say it, a lot of those women, like they want it, and you can see that they want it. And you know, everybody, you know, even people need to realize, you know, even it's same with like NFL and stuff. If you're bad at that level, that's still great.
Yeah, you're still probably better than, you know, 90% of
people out there doing the same thing.
And obviously you're there for a reason. They saw something in you that was the it factor for you. So I mean, a lot of people have different opinions about it, but that's mine. So
So man,
I just hate those people that buy a ticket to just be contrarians.
Right. So Merrick Miami, man, we're winding down the hour here. Is there any last parting words you want to give us at the end here? You have been great.
Yeah.
We wish you the best.
Thanks for having me.
We wish you the best of luck. We will continue to support and share your stuff. If I see it out there, we're friends on Facebook. I'm going to share whatever you throw out there. And I hope you get booked as many times as you want to wrestle in 2021. And I hope that things start to get better for all wrestlers. Our friend of mine, JT Funk, put out there on Facebook earlier today that he got a movie role. That's freaking awesome, right? For Netflix.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's badass. So congrats to you, JT Funk, because I know you're watching. But man, yeah, whatever we can do to help you, just let us know. And if you ever want to come back on here, if you ever get signed and you want to come back on and announce that, that'd be great.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
we'll definitely follow everybody that we've had on this show. We keep tabs on, and we follow their careers, and we see where they're going, and we hope that you guys all live your dreams because you guys have the passion for this business. That's what we love most about you guys. The passion for this business is unparalleled. And man, it was great talking to you tonight.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was a treasure. And for those watching, as I told these two above me, right after this, please do head on over to my Instagram at Merrick Miami. I will be dropping my first merchandise item for Merrick Miami as soon as we are done this. So yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast. I'm looking forward to, coming back on. And hopefully this, crazy times we're living in are slowly coming to an end.
It has to get better, right? 2020 sucked. It has to get better.
Don't say that. God will be like, hold my beer.
I think,
well, man.
I think 2020 was a blessing in disguise. I feel a lot of people realize their potential and realize, what they want to do in life. A lot of people said, what, screw the job that I'm at now. I'm going to do what I want to, do what I want to do and be happy. So, 2021, it's up from here.
This show was spawned from the pandemic. All right. It started out as something, right? It started out as something for us to do because the pandemic was making us not be able to do a lot of the things we like to do.
Right.
And it morphed. We started making connections. We started making new friends. And we started going to live events that we're having them and meeting new people. And JT Funk is the gift that keeps on giving. He keeps sending me names of guys who want to come on the show. And then we ended up interviewing Stevie Ray from WCW from Harlem Heat. And
I watched that. That was awesome.
Yeah, and
Gonzalez is our friend now.
We're gonna have bigger names as we move along, just to build this stage up, so that when guys like yourself come on, we have a bigger stage for you to tell your story. That's all we want to do.
Right. Yeah, it's awesome.
And we love it. So yeah, man, thank you so much for being on, and we wish you best of luck. And all the links to his Instagram, his Facebook, his YouTube, and all that stuff will be on 2M1L Media's Facebook page and our Around the Turnbuckle Facebook page. And as the man just said, he's dropping some new merchandise, so go check that out and hit my man up for his new Merrick Miami stuff. Merrick Miami, thank you very much. Oh, we got one last comment, Keith.
Oh, do we?
Great show, Kenneth Ferguson.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I love Kenneth.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for showing up, Kenneth. I appreciate it to the utmost. And Keith and I will see you guys all Saturday night at 6:00 on the next Around the Turnbuckle. Merrick Miami, Professor Keith. I'm the Big Al Boski. See you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you gonna do, brother? Oh, yeah! Woo! What? If you smell what the